welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at something that can really make or break a team, and that's the team's culture. You sent over a great episode called Unleashing the Power of Team Culture, and I'm ready to break it down.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's more than just a buzzword. It really is the essence of how a team interacts, those sort of invisible forces that shape their success.
Okay, so let's unpack this. What exactly are we talking about when we say team culture? Is it more than just like vibes?
Yeah, I think about it as the shared language a team speaks, even when they're not talking. It's the values they prioritize, how they handle conflict, those unspoken rules that guide behavior. If you think about teams you've been on, right? Some just felt effortless, and others felt like constant uphill battles. That's culture at work.
So it's not about the ping pong table or free snacks, although those can be nice perks.
It's deeper. It's about whether feedback is truly welcomed or just tolerated. If celebrating wins is ingrained or just an afterthought. It's the difference between a team that thrives under pressure and one that crumbles.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, I'm guessing our listeners are already thinking, okay, great, but why should I care? What are the tangible benefits of putting effort into building a strong team culture?
Well, think about it this way. Imagine a team where everybody's rowing in different directions. Frustrating, right? A strong culture aligns everyone's efforts towards a common goal. It boosts collaboration, it fuels creativity, and ultimately it just leads to higher performance.
And I'm guessing that translates to real-world results, not just warm, fuzzy feelings.
Absolutely. Studies have shown a direct link between strong team cultures and increased productivity, higher employee engagement, and even reduced turnover rates. It's about creating an environment where people feel valued, they feel supported, they feel motivated to do their best work.
That sounds like a win-win. Now, our source material dives into the key elements of a truly great team culture. What are those must-have ingredients? Can we break those down?
Yeah, of course. So it all starts with having a clear vision and set of values. This is more than just a mission statement that you just hang on the wall. It's about everyone understanding the why behind their work and having a shared sense of purpose.
So it's like having a North Star guiding the team's decisions and actions.
Precisely. When everyone is aligned on that big picture, it just makes decision-making easier. It fosters a sense of collective ownership. It's far more effective than just dictating tasks from the top down.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, what else is crucial for cultivating this kind of environment? What else do we need?
Open communication. This is absolutely vital, and it goes beyond simply being able to speak your mind. It's about creating a culture where everyone feels safe sharing ideas, giving feedback, and even voicing concerns without fear of retribution. That psychological safety.
That's an interesting concept of psychological safety. Can you elaborate a little bit on what that means?
Yeah. Imagine a team where people are afraid to speak up, to challenge ideas, or to admit mistakes. That's a breeding ground for stagnation and resentment. Psychological safety means creating an environment where people feel comfortable taking interpersonal risks, knowing they won't be punished for voicing their thoughts, even if they're wrong.
So it's about fostering that trust and respect so people can be their authentic selves, contribute their best ideas without feeling judged or silenced.
Exactly. It's about creating that culture where feedback is seen as a gift, not a threat, and where vulnerability is actually valued as a strength.
Yeah, I see how that can make a huge difference in the team dynamic. So what else is on our list?
Recognition and appreciation. And we're not talking about, big bonuses or elaborate awards ceremonies here. It's about acknowledging those everyday contributions of your team members, celebrating their wins, and showing genuine appreciation for their hard work. It's about making people feel seen and valued.
So it's about those small gestures, the thank yous, those acknowledgments that make people feel like their efforts really do matter.
Exactly. It can be as simple as a handwritten note or a shout out in a team meeting, or even just a sincere thank you for going the extra mile. These seemingly small acts can go a long way in boosting morale and fostering a sense of belonging, encouraging continued effort.
It's about making people feel like they're a part of something bigger than themselves and that their contributions are recognized and appreciated.
Precisely. When people feel valued, they're more likely to be engaged, motivated, and invested in their work.
So far, we've got a shared vision, open communication, and a culture of appreciation. What else is essential for creating that truly exceptional team culture?
Embracing diversity and inclusion. This might seem obvious, but it's critical. Recognizing that teams thrive when they're composed of individuals with different perspectives, backgrounds, and experiences.
So it's not just about ticking boxes or meeting quotas. It's about fostering a genuine sense of belonging for everyone, regardless of their background or beliefs.
Exactly. A diverse team brings a wider range of ideas and approaches to the table, which leads to greater innovation and problem-solving capabilities. But it's not enough to simply have diversity. You need to create an environment where everyone feels comfortable sharing their unique perspective and feels like they truly belong.
It's about creating a space where differences are not just tolerated, but celebrated and seen as a source of strength.
Absolutely. Requires a conscious effort to ensure that everyone has a voice and that all perspectives are valued. This can lead to some truly aha moments as a team.
This is fascinating stuff. I'm starting to see how all these elements weave together to create this really powerful team dynamic. What's the final ingredient on our list?
It's about fostering a culture of continuous learning. This means creating an environment where people are encouraged to grow, to develop new skills, and stay ahead of the curve.
So it's not just about formal training programs or workshops. It's about cultivating that mindset of continuous improvement and providing opportunities for people to learn and evolve.
Exactly. It could involve encouraging team members to attend conferences or providing access to online learning platforms, or even simply setting aside time for knowledge sharing and peer learning.
This is all about creating an environment that encourages people to be curious, to experiment, and to constantly seek out new knowledge and skills. It's about fostering that growth mindset, both individually and as a team.
Precisely. When people feel like they're constantly learning and growing, they're more likely to be engaged, motivated, and committed to their work. Plus, it helps your team adapt to changes and stay ahead of the curve in today's rapidly evolving world.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've identified 5 essential ingredients for building an exceptional team culture: clear vision and values, open communication, recognition and appreciation, diversity and inclusion, and continuous learning. It's like a recipe for success.
It is. But just like any good recipe, it's not enough to just have the ingredients. You need to know how to combine them effectively and adapt that recipe to your team's unique needs and flavor.
And that's where the real challenge and the real fun begins, right?
Yeah.
Actually putting these ingredients into practice and creating something truly special.
Exactly. And that's what we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive. We'll discuss those practical strategies for implementation and get inspired by real-world examples of teams that have successfully built thriving cultures.
I'm already eager to hear about those success stories. We've got our list of essential ingredients for an awesome team culture. But as we all know, having the ingredients is one thing, right? Knowing how to actually use them, that's another.
Yeah, it's like having all the ingredients for a gourmet meal, but no recipe. You might end up with something edible, but it's unlikely to be a masterpiece.
Exactly. So how do we go from those ingredients to action? How do we actually start building this incredible culture we've been talking about?
Well, I think the first step is to assess your current team culture. Think of it as like taking inventory. You need to understand what you're working with before you can start making any changes, right?
So it's like a team culture temperature check, figuring out what's working, what needs improvement, and where the potential pain points are.
Precisely. You can use surveys, one-on-one interviews, even informal team discussions to just gather feedback and insights. The key is to create a safe space for honest and open dialogue. Don't just focus on the positives. Encourage people to share their challenges and their frustrations as well.
That makes sense. You need a clear picture of the current reality before you can start painting your masterpiece. So once you've got a good grasp of that existing culture, what's next?
This is where leadership comes in. Leaders play a crucial role in shaping team culture. They need to embody the values and the behaviors they want to see in their team. It's not enough to just talk the talk, you have to walk the walk.
So it's about leading by example, showing your team what it looks like to live and breathe those cultural values.
Absolutely. If you want open communication, you need to be transparent and approachable. If you want a culture of appreciation, you need to make it a habit to recognize and celebrate your team's wins. Your actions, they speak volumes, and your team will notice.
So it's not just about setting rules or dictating policies. It's about demonstrating those desired behaviors and creating a ripple effect throughout the team.
Exactly. It's about creating a culture of accountability where everyone, from the top down, is responsible for living those values and setting the right example.
Okay, so we've got assessment, we've got leadership setting the tone. What else can we do to cultivate that strong culture? What are some other things?
Establishing rituals and traditions. This can be incredibly powerful. These shared experiences, they help build camaraderie, they strengthen bonds, and they create a sense of belonging.
Yeah, I can see how that will work. It's about creating those moments that bring the team together outside of just like the usual work tasks. Things like team lunches or celebrations for milestones or even just those regular coffee breaks where people can connect on a more personal level.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. The key is to create opportunities for people to connect and to build relationships and have some fun together. These shared experiences really help to create a sense of community and make people feel like they're a part of something special.
And those shared memories can be really powerful in building a strong team identity, right?
Absolutely. When people feel connected to their team, they're more likely to be engaged, motivated, and committed to their shared goals.
So we've got rituals, we've got leadership setting the tone. What else is on our implementation checklist?
This is a big one, empowering your team. Giving people ownership of their work, allowing them to make decisions, trusting them to get the job done. This is crucial for fostering a culture of autonomy and responsibility.
So it's about shifting away from that micromanagement and control and moving towards a more trust-based approach.
Exactly. When you empower your team, you're essentially saying, I trust you to make the right decisions and to handle this responsibility. That trust can be incredibly motivating and it can lead to some really amazing results.
It's about giving people the freedom to be creative, to experiment, and to truly own their piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. And it's not just about delegating tasks, it's also about providing that support, that guidance, and the resources to help your team succeed. Empowerment without support can lead to frustration and overwhelm.
So it's a delicate balance between giving people the freedom to make those decisions and providing the necessary support to make sure they can make those decisions effectively.
Precisely. It's about finding that sweet spot where people feel challenged and engaged, but not overwhelmed or unsupported.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, I know from my own experience that feedback is crucial for growth, both individually and as a team. How does feedback play into building that strong team culture?
Oh, feedback is essential. And I'm not just talking about the annual performance review here, right? We're talking about creating a culture of continuous feedback where people feel comfortable giving and receiving feedback regularly, both positive and constructive.
So it's about making feedback a normal part of the team's workflow rather than like this dreaded annual event.
Exactly. It's about creating a safe space where feedback is seen as a gift, an opportunity for growth and improvement. And it's not just about the leader giving feedback to the team, it's about encouraging peer-to-peer feedback, upward feedback, 360-degree feedback.
So it's about creating this feedback loop where everyone is involved in helping each other grow and improve.
Precisely. And it's crucial that feedback is delivered and received in a constructive and respectful manner. The goal is to help people learn and develop, not to criticize or to tear them down.
This is all about creating that culture of transparency and continuous improvement, where feedback is seen as a valuable tool for growth.
Absolutely. And remember, it's not just about giving feedback, it's also about actively listening to and acting on the feedback that you receive. This shows your team that you value their input and that you're committed to creating a better work environment.
So it's about closing that loop,
Yeah.
showing that feedback is taken seriously, and that it can lead to real change.
Exactly. When people feel like their feedback is heard and acted upon, they're more likely to be engaged and invested in the process.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about assessment, leadership, rituals, empowerment, and feedback. It sounds like there's a lot to juggle when it comes to building a strong team culture.
It's true. It's an ongoing process that requires effort and intentionality, but the payoff is enormous. A strong team culture, it can transform your team's performance, boost morale, and even impact your bottom line.
Now, to really illustrate how this works in practice, let's dive into some real-world examples of teams that have successfully cultivated these thriving cultures. That's what we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
Yeah, I'm excited to share some inspiring stories that highlight the power of a strong team culture and demonstrate how these principles can be applied in real-world settings.
All right, we've talked about the essential ingredients of a strong team culture and how to start putting them into practice. Now let's see how this all plays out in the real world. Our source material mentioned a tech startup that implemented something called innovation hours. What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so this startup was facing a pretty common challenge. Their day-to-day work was consuming all of their time and energy and leaving very little room for creative thinking or exploring new ideas. So they decided to dedicate 1 hour every week specifically for brainstorming and innovation, hence innovation hours.
So it's like building in that dedicated time for creativity into their schedules.
Exactly. But they didn't just tell people to go be creative for an hour. They structured these sessions pretty thoughtfully. They rotated facilitators each week to bring in fresh perspectives. They established a no judgment rule to encourage even the wildest ideas. And crucially, they tracked the outcomes of those sessions, noting which ideas led to prototypes, new features, or even entirely new product lines.
So it wasn't just a free-for-all brainstorming session. There was a structure and a purpose behind it.
Right, and the results were actually really impressive. They found that having this dedicated time for creative thinking led to a noticeable increase in the number of innovative ideas that were generated. What's more, they saw a 30% increase in their product development speed, meaning they were able to bring new products and features to market much faster.
That's a pretty significant impact. It really highlights how even a small shift in culture, in this case, prioritizing that time for innovation, can yield tangible results.
Yeah, it's a great example of how a simple but intentional change can make a big difference. And it just reinforces the importance of not just talking about innovation, but actually creating the space and the structure to make it happen.
Okay, so we've got our tech startup example. What other success story stands out to you?
There's a fascinating case study of a multinational company that decided to revamp their employee recognition program. They realized that their existing program was very generic and impersonal. It wasn't really having the desired impact on employee morale or retention.
Recognition is such a key ingredient in a strong team culture. So I'm curious how they approach this revamp.
Yeah, well, instead of just handing out these standardized rewards or generic praise, they decided to take a more personalized approach. So they started by gathering feedback from employees through surveys, focus groups, just to understand what kind of recognition truly mattered to them.
So they actually listened to what their employees wanted rather than assuming they knew best.
Exactly. And they found that, well, some employees really valued public acknowledgement, while others preferred more private or personalized gestures. Some appreciated tangible rewards, while others valued experiences or professional development opportunities.
It makes sense that different people would value different forms of recognition.
Absolutely. So they tailored their recognition program to cater to those diverse preferences. They implemented a peer-to-peer recognition system where colleagues could easily acknowledge each other's contributions. They empowered managers to give personalized gifts or experiences that align with their team members' interests. And they started showcasing employee achievements on their company intranet and social media platforms, giving them wider visibility and recognition.
Sounds like they really went the extra mile to make that recognition meaningful and personalized.
They did, and the results were pretty remarkable. Employee satisfaction scores significantly increased, and they saw a significant decrease in employee turnover. It was a clear demonstration of the power of recognizing and appreciating your team's contributions in a way that really resonates with them.
Yeah, it shows that putting in the effort to really understand your team's values and preferences can really pay off.
Yeah.
So if we were to distill all of this down to a key takeaway for our listener, what would it be?
I think the biggest takeaway is that creating a thriving team culture, it's not a destination, it's a journey. It's about continuous learning, adaptation, and a willingness to experiment and try new things.
It's about being intentional and thoughtful in the way you approach building your team culture and constantly looking for ways to improve and evolve.
Exactly. And remember, there is no one-size-fits-all solution. What works for one team might not work for another. The key is to find what resonates with your team, what aligns with your values, and what helps you achieve your shared goals.
It's about staying curious. Keep learning from other teams, experiment with new approaches, and never stop looking for ways to create a work environment where everyone feels valued, supported, and inspired to do their best work. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. So many insightful tips and strategies for building that incredible team culture. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been a pleasure exploring this topic with you.
It's been my pleasure as well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me.